People will tell you that getting older means giving things up, that the body slows down and the smart thing is to accept it. They say it kindly, with good intentions. But what they are really saying is that decline is the only story available to you now. I am here to tell you that is wrong. Because I have spent nearly 3 decades watching people in their 70s and 80s do things their doctors said they had no business doing. And every single one of them still had these 6 abilities. My name is Dr. David Mercer. I've spent 28 years studying aging patterns in over 9,000 patients between the ages of 65 and 90. In all that time, I have identified 6 specific abilities that appear in the people who are genuinely one of a kind. Not the ones doing okay for their age. Not the ones who are managing. The ones who walk into my office and make me stop what I am doing and pay attention. 6 abilities. If you still have them, you are not just aging well. You are rare. A woman named Gloria came to see me last year. She was 78. She walked in alone, set her bag down without looking for a surface to steady herself, and sat down fluidly. Before I said a word, I had already observed 3 of the 6. She said, "Doctor, I want to know where I actually stand. Not reassurance, the real picture. I ran all 6 tests. She passed every one. A 78-year-old who passes all 6 is genuinely one of a kind. I told her so. She looked back at me and said, 'Then I intend to stay that way.' That is the only correct answer. Subscribe right now if you are between 65 and 85. This is the most important physical information you are going to hear today. Ability number 1. You can stand up from a chair, walk to a wall 10 feet away, touch it, walk back, and sit down again, all in under 12 seconds. This is called the Timed Up and Go test, and it is one of the most validated functional assessments in geriatric medicine. 12 seconds is not the average. It is not the baseline for your age group. It is the threshold that separates the people with strong integrated mobility from everyone else. Most people over 70 complete this test in 14 to 16 seconds. People in decline take 18 or more. Under 12 seconds means your neuromuscular system, your cardiovascular efficiency, and your postural control are all operating together at a level that puts you in a category of your own. Here is what is happening during those 12 seconds. Standing from seated requires a rapid eccentric to concentric transition in your quadriceps. Walking to the wall requires gait coordination, arm swing, and balance to work without hesitation. The turn demands rotational stability under momentum. Walking back requires maintained speed despite mild fatigue. Sitting down requires controlled deceleration again. Every system is called upon. Every weakness shows up. The clock does not lie. Leonard was 74, former civil engineer. I asked him to run the test. He stood, walked carefully to the wall, touched it, turned slowly, walked back, and sat. 14.3 seconds. "Leonard, are you usually this deliberate when you walk, or did you slow down for me?" He thought about it. "I suppose I have gotten more careful lately. I do not want to rush and fall." I told him what he had just described. His caution was compensation. His nervous system had slowed, and he had adapted so naturally, he had mistaken the adaptation for wisdom. The test revealed what the adaptation had been hiding. A study from McGill University followed 3,400 adults aged 65 to 84 for 10 years. Those who completed the Timed Up and Go test in under 12 seconds at baseline had 5 times lower rates of fall-related hospitalization and were 4 times more likely to remain fully independent at the end of the study compared to those who took 16 seconds or longer, 5 times lower, 4 times more likely to remain independent, from 12 seconds of walking across a room. Your test right now. Set a timer on your phone. Stand from your chair, walk to a wall or doorway 10 feet away. Touch it, walk back, and sit down. Stop the timer the moment you are seated. What was your time? Under 12 seconds puts you in the one-of-a-kind category for this ability. Between 12 and 15 is functional but with room to improve. Over 15 is a signal worth taking seriously today. Leonard started a daily speed and agility circuit. Brisk walks with deliberate changes of direction. Timed stair climbs. Sit-to-stand repetitions with a focus on speed rather than control. 6 weeks later, he ran the test in 11.1 seconds. He stood up from the chair and said, "I was not being careful that time." "No," I told him. "You were not. And that is the whole point. Ability number 2. You can reach your arm fully across your body, placing your right hand on your left shoulder and your left hand on your right shoulder simultaneously, and hold both positions without any restriction or pulling sensation. Most people reading this just tried it and thought it felt easy. Most of them are wrong about what they felt. Bilateral shoulder cross-body reach is one of the most sensitive indicators of thoracic spine mobility, posterior shoulder capsule flexibility, and rotator cuff integrity in a simple self-test. The tightness most people feel and dismiss as normal is not normal. It is the beginning of a cascade that leads to frozen shoulder, chronic upper back pain, restricted neck rotation, and eventually the forward-stooped posture most people associate with advanced age. That postural collapse is almost always a shoulder and thoracic problem that started small, was never addressed, and compounded over years into something that looked inevitable when it was never inevitable at all. Adele was 68, upper back pain for 3 years, otherwise active. When I asked her to cross both arms to opposite shoulders, her right arm moved easily, but her left stopped 4 inches short before the pulling became too uncomfortable. She had been adapting around this restriction so completely she had stopped noticing it. Doctor, I had no idea my left side was like that. That is exactly how these things develop. Silently. Until a test makes the invisible visible. A study from Lund University assessed bilateral shoulder mobility in 2,800 adults aged 65 to 82 across 8 years. Those who maintained full restriction-free cross-body reach bilaterally had 3 times lower rates of rotator cuff pathology, significantly lower rates of cervical spine degeneration, and measurably better postural height preservation over the study period compared to those with restricted reach on either side. 3 times lower rotator cuff pathology. From a movement most people never test and never think about until something hurts badly enough to force attention. Your test right now. Cross your right arm to your left shoulder and your left arm to your right shoulder simultaneously. Hold both positions for 5 full seconds. Is there any pulling, catching, or restriction? Is one side noticeably tighter than the other? Is there any point in the reach where your arm wants to stop before it arrives? That specific point of resistance is where the restriction lives, and that is exactly where the work needs to start. Adele started a daily posterior shoulder and thoracic stretch routine. Door frame cross-body stretches, thoracic rotation exercises in a chair, and foam rolling her upper back for 3 minutes each morning. 8 weeks later, she crossed both arms to opposite shoulders, held them simultaneously, and turned her head left and right without a single catch. She told me, "Doctor, I feel like someone removed something from my back." That is not far from the truth. Something was there, a restriction that had been accumulating for years, and she had worked it out. Ability number 3. You can walk up and down a full flight of stairs while carrying something in both hands, without holding the railing. This is the ability most people lose without knowing it because they stop doing it long before they have to. They put one hand on the railing out of habit, then they hold it more firmly. Then they put both hands on it. Then they stop carrying things on the stairs entirely. Each adaptation feels like a sensible precaution. Together, they amount to a progressive surrender of one of the most important functional capabilities in daily life. The ability to move on stairs under load with no external support means your balance, leg strength, and spatial awareness are all operating at a level that protects you from the single most common location of serious falls in the home. Here is what this ability actually requires. Carrying objects in both hands removes visual attention from the stairs. It shifts your center of gravity slightly. It occupies your arms, eliminating the instinctive reach for support. Your body must manage all of this using balance and strength alone. The person who can do this at 75 or 80 has a neuromuscular system that is still operating with the reserve capacity that keeps people safe in the unpredictable moments. The person who cannot do it has already lost that margin, often without realizing the margin existed. Bernard was 71. He came in after a stumble on his stairs at home carrying a laundry basket. I asked him to walk up the stairs outside my room with a bag in each hand, no railing. He went up leaning slightly toward the wall without touching it, and made it. Coming down, he stopped halfway, shifted both bags to one arm, and placed his free hand on the rail. "Bernard, why did you stop?" It just felt safer to hold on. I told him what had happened. His descending leg strength and balance were not giving his brain enough confidence to complete the movement under load. The lean going up and the stop coming down were two versions of the same signal. Not failure, but close enough to the edge that his body was hedging. A study from Lund University assessed stair mobility under bilateral load in 2,600 adults aged 67 to 83 across 9 years. Those who maintained the ability to ascend and descend stairs carrying objects in both hands without railing contact had 4 times lower rates of stair-related fall injury and were 3 times more likely to remain living independently at home at the end of the study period. 4 times lower. From the specific version of stair use that daily life actually requires, stand at the bottom of a flight of stairs right now. Take something in each hand, not heavy, just something that occupies both arms. Walk up and down without touching the railing. What happened? Did you hesitate on the descent? Did you lean toward the wall? Did you put something down or transfer it to one arm to free up a hand? That specific moment of hesitation is the data. Bernard started loaded stair training every morning, up and down twice daily, carrying progressively heavier bags with no railing contact. He added single-leg eccentric strength work and lateral balance drills. 7 weeks later, he walked up and down my stairs carrying 2 full bags without a pause, without a lean, and without once looking at the railing. He told me afterward, "Doctor, I did the laundry yesterday. All of it. Every trip. I did not even think about the stairs." That is the standard. Not thinking about the stairs. Just using them. Now here is where the conversation about aging usually stays comfortable and stops. 3 abilities. Movement tests. Things people can practice and feel themselves improving. But the final 3 abilities are harder to see, harder to measure in daily life, and they most completely separate the people who are genuinely one of a kind from everyone else. The 4th ability is one I have never seen a truly remarkable older patient fail. Ability number 4. You can breathe in fully, hold for 3 seconds, and exhale completely in a single slow breath, lasting at least 8 seconds, without straining. Most people have no idea how well or poorly their lungs are functioning because breathing is automatic, and lungs do not hurt when they are losing capacity. They just quietly deliver less. The diaphragm, the primary breathing muscle, weakens with age and disuse exactly like any other muscle. The intercostal muscles between the ribs stiffen. The lungs themselves lose elasticity. The result is a gradual shortening of breath that most people experience as general fatigue, reduced stamina, or simply getting older. They never connect it to breathing because they are still breathing. They just are not breathing well. The ability to take a full breath to maximum lung capacity, hold it with control, and exhale slowly and completely in a long, unhurried 8-second breath is a direct measure of diaphragmatic strength, lung elasticity, and respiratory neuromuscular control. It sounds simple. For most people over 70, it is not. Try it right now before I tell you what to look for. Breathe in as deeply as you possibly can. Hold for 3 counts. Now exhale completely, slowly, counting to 8. Did you make it to 8? Did your exhale run out at 5 or 6? Did you feel strain in your chest or throat on the hold? Did the exhale feel forced or did it feel controlled and smooth all the way to empty? Margaret was 77. She came to me for persistent low energy that had been building for 2 years. Blood work was acceptable, sleep adequate, not depressed. I asked her to perform the breath test while I watched. She inhaled reasonably well, held for 3 seconds, then exhaled for 4.5 seconds before it ran out, and she forced the last of it in a short burst. "Margaret, how long have you felt your energy was low?" 2 years, she said. "When did you last sing in your church choir?" She stopped. "About 2 years ago. I left because I could not hold the notes." I told her what 2 years of shallow breathing does to energy, to cognitive clarity, to cardiovascular efficiency. She had been breathing at approximately 60% of her functional respiratory capacity without knowing it. The singing was the test she had failed without anyone framing it as one. A study from Utrecht University assessed diaphragmatic capacity and respiratory control in 2,500 adults aged 65 to 83 across 7 years. Those who maintained full diaphragmatic breathing capacity had 3 times lower rates of respiratory illness, significantly lower rates of cardiovascular events, and measurably better cognitive performance scores across the study period compared to those with restricted respiratory function. 3 times lower respiratory illness rate. From a muscle, most people never consciously exercise a single day of their lives. Margaret started a daily breathing protocol. 5 minutes of diaphragmatic breathing exercises each morning, lying flat, maximizing the expansion on each inhale and fully evacuating on each exhale. She added pursed lip exhale training to extend her controlled breath duration. 6 weeks later, she exhaled for 11 controlled seconds without strain. Her energy had improved noticeably by week 4. At her 8-week follow-up, she told me, "Doctor, I went back to the choir. I held every note." She smiled. The director asked what I had been doing differently. I told her I had been breathing. Ability number 5. You can recall 5 unrelated words in correct order after a 10-minute delay without writing them down. This is a working memory and delayed recall test that tells me more about the neurological aging of a patient in 2 minutes than most cognitive screenings produce in 20. I give 5 unrelated words at the beginning of an appointment. Completely random. No category connection between them. I do not remind the patient or mention them again. 10 minutes later, in the middle of a completely different conversation, I ask for all 5 in the original order. What I am testing is not just memory. I am testing whether the hippocampus, which encodes new information, is communicating clearly with the prefrontal cortex, which holds and retrieves it. I am testing attentional encoding, which is the depth of focus at the moment of initial learning. And I am testing the integrity of the retrieval pathway under mild interference, which is exactly how memory functions in real life. After 65, these systems begin to diverge. Most people notice the end result, forgetting where they put things, losing a word mid-sentence, blanking on a name they know. What they do not see is the mechanism, the hippocampus encoding less deeply, the retrieval pathway slowing, interference from other thoughts eroding the memory trace. These changes are measurable, manageable, and in many cases reversible with consistent daily cognitive demand. Cornelius was 70, sharp in conversation, clearly intelligent. I gave him 5 words at the start of our appointment. 14 minutes later, I asked for them. He remembered 3. He paused a long time for the other 2. He knew they were there. He could almost feel the shape of them, but they would not come. "Doctor, this happens all the time. A word is simply not there when I need it." That specific experience, the word that exists but cannot be retrieved in the moment, is a gap in the retrieval pathway, not a permanent loss. But Cornelius had stopped being surprised by it. That normalization was the part that concerned me most. A study from the University of Edinburgh followed 2,700 adults, aged 65 to 82, for 9 years. Those who could accurately recall 5 unrelated words in sequence after a 10-minute delay at baseline had 4 times lower rates of significant memory decline and were 3 times more likely to score in the cognitively independent range at the end of the study period compared to those who could not. 4 times lower decline rates from a 2-minute test at the start of an appointment that most routine exams never bother to run. Your test right now. Have someone give you 5 completely unrelated words, preferably nouns with no obvious connection. Set a timer for 10 minutes and do something else entirely. When the timer sounds, recall all 5 in the original order without prompting. How many came back? All 5 in order is the one-of-a-kind standard. 3 or fewer after 10 minutes is a signal that your encoding and retrieval systems need deliberate daily exercise. Cornelius started a daily memory training practice. Every morning he memorized a 5-item sequence and tested himself later in the day. He started memorizing short passages from books rather than simply reading them. He took up crossword puzzles and expanded to learning new vocabulary words from a different language each week. 10 weeks later, he recalled all 5 of my words after a 15-minute delay without error. He told me, "Doctor, the word gaps are almost gone. When I reach for something, it is usually there now." That is what a trained retrieval pathway feels like. Not a miracle. Just a brain that has been asked to do its job consistently enough that it has become reliable again. Ability number 6. And this is the one that ties every other ability on this list together, because without it, none of the others can be built, maintained, or recovered. You consistently sleep between 6 and 8 hours, wake without an alarm, and feel genuinely rested within 15 minutes of getting up. Sleep after 65 is almost universally underestimated as a physical ability. People think of it as passive, as something that either happens or does not. They do not understand that the quality of sleep is a direct measure of the nervous system's regulatory capacity, the hormonal system's overnight repair function, and the brain's glymphatic clearance process, which is the overnight washing of metabolic waste from neural tissue. When sleep is broken, shallow, or insufficient, every other physical and cognitive system in this list begins to fail faster. Muscle recovery slows, inflammation increases, balance reflexes dull. Memory consolidation degrades. The person who sleeps poorly is aging at a fundamentally accelerated rate regardless of what they do during their waking hours. Full restorative sleep means entering deep, slow-wave sleep for adequate duration. It means completing full sleep cycles. It means waking with the sense that the body has done something overnight, rather than simply waited for morning. That feeling of genuine restoration within 15 minutes of waking is not a luxury. It is a physiological measurement. It tells you whether your overnight repair processes ran to completion or were cut short. Vera was 73. She told me she slept 8 hours every night. I asked how she felt when she woke up. She thought about it. I need about an hour before I feel like myself. Not really there until after my second cup of coffee. That is not rest. That is survival. I asked about her sleep environment. Television on until she fell asleep. Phone on the nightstand. Room temperature at 74 degrees. Heavy curtains blocking morning light entirely. All 4 conditions were actively suppressing her deep sleep architecture. She was in bed 8 hours and getting perhaps 90 minutes of restorative sleep. The rest was surface cycling that left her physically unrested every morning without her understanding why. A study from Maastricht University followed 2,900 adults aged 65 to 82 for 10 years. Those who reported consistently restorative sleep, defined as waking refreshed within 15 minutes for 4 or more nights per week, had 4 times lower rates of cognitive decline, 3 times lower rates of cardiovascular events, and significantly better scores on every physical performance measure used in the study compared to those with chronically poor sleep quality. 4 times lower cognitive decline, 3 times lower cardiac events. From the hours your body spends working while you are not watching. Vera made 4 changes. Television removed from the bedroom entirely. Phone left in the kitchen overnight. Room temperature dropped to 67 degrees. Morning curtains replaced with ones that let natural light in gradually after sunrise. She resisted these changes for 2 weeks before fully committing. At her 6-week follow-up, she told me, "Doctor, I wake up now and I am already there. I do not need the hour. I do not need the second cup of coffee. I just wake up and I am ready." That is what restorative sleep feels like. You wake up and the body has already done its work. All you have to do is start the day. Gloria came back 4 months after that first appointment. She walked in the same way she had walked in the first time. Gloria sat down and said, "Doctor, I want to know what to protect. Not what I am doing wrong. What to hold on to." I told her the 6 abilities she already had. The work now was not building. It was holding. She nodded and said, "I can do that." Then she said, "My daughter told me last week that I move like I am still 55. I am 78, and I intend to be this way at 88. That is what one of a kind means. 6 abilities. Anyone puts you ahead of where most people your age have arrived. All 6 together put you in a category that genuinely stands apart. Test yourself today. All 6. Be honest. The ones you have, protect them. The ones slipping, begin today. The distance between where you are and one of a kind is shorter than it looks. Your body is still fully capable of extraordinary things. The question is whether you are going to demand them.